As rightly said by Swami Vivekananda, every act of charity, every thought of sympathy, and every action of help takes self-importance away from our little selves. So such is the undisputed importance of charity and donations. Speaking of which, charitable trusts have played a pivotal role in various sectors like relief to poor, education, medical relief, and so on. Given their importance, charitable trusts and institutions in India enjoy certain tax benefits and exemptions under the Indian Income Tax Act 1961. In this regard, the Honorable Supreme Court of India recently passed two landmark decisions which describe in detail the scope of exemptions under the Income Tax Act which are available to such charitable institutions. So hi all, this is CA Aniket Barve, and in this video, I will be discussing one of the two Supreme Court decisions which deal with the income tax exemptions available to charitable institutions. So let's get started. So the two decisions are as below. The first is ACIT exemptions versus Ahmedabad Urban Development Authority, which deals with the charitable trusts exemptions under the general public utility category, and the second being more specific, dealing with educational trusts in New Noble Education Society. So our discussion will be restricted to the first one in Ahmedabad Urban Development Authority. So before discussing the judgment, it is crucial to see section 215 of the Income Tax Act. This section defines the term charitable purpose. So as we can see, this definition can be divided in two parts. The first being certain specific discussion to the sectors in which the charitable trusts usually function. So for example, the one being relief to poor, education, yoga or medical relief and so on. And when we see the last or residuary category is any other object of general public utility. So this decision concentrates on this residuary aspect of general public utility. So in the context of charitable trusts, it is also crucial to understand that a number of charitable trusts, apart from being engaged in their activity which is a charitable purpose, also enter into some incidental activities which may not be predominantly charitable but may be classified as in the nature of trade, business or commerce. Appreciating the same, there are certain provisions in 215 itself which deal with the charitable trusts engaged in any activity of business, trade or commerce. They are allowed but with certain conditions. The first being that such an activity should be carried out in the course of the advancement of the charitable purpose. And the second being the aggregate receipts from such business or trade should not exceed 20% of the total receipts which are earned by the charitable trust. But the manner in which the expression in course of actually carrying out such charitable purpose is interpreted is a bit different. So the test which is applied for this interpretation is called as the predominant object test. So taking an example, an educational trust which primarily deals in imparting education to underprivileged. So they are also involved in publishing a magazine for which they charge a fee. So if we see in this case, education is the primary object and publishing a magazine for a fee is the incidental purpose which is in the course of carrying out that charitable purpose. So if we apply the predominant object test, meaning that if the predominant object is charitable, then such incidental objects will be ignored, and regardless of their presence, still the trust will be considered as a charitable trust and therefore eligible for exemption under the Income Tax Act. To analyze the decision, we can divide it in three parts. The first being the extent to which a charitable trust is permitted to do business. The second is fee, cess or consideration which the charitable trust is permitted to charge. And the third part being the application of such gains or income which is derived from the business activity. So coming to the first part, so as said earlier, the predominant object test originated from the decision of Supreme Court in Surat Art Silk. So if we observe this decision, there are two parts. The first being that primary or predominant purpose of a charity will define its character. And the second one is that the business which is undertaken should be incidental to the predominant purpose. Now, the major change which we can see in the present decision is that the predominant object test has been scrapped by the Supreme Court. So coming to the relevant para, we can see that the idea of predominant object test among several objects has been discarded by the Supreme Court. So this is a major departure as compared to the earlier judicial precedents in this regard. What makes the Surat Art Silk decision more interesting is that it has a dissenting judgment as well. In the dissenting judgment, the Honorable Judge has remarked that there is a need to plug the misuse of the Income Tax Act so that the activities which are purely commercial in nature are not carried out under the garb of charitable objectives or charitable trusts. So we can see the highlighted part that the fact some of the charitable trusts are created for purpose of evasion and avoidance of tax is virtually an endemic and unmitigated well-known evil. So if we see the present judgment, the very second para addresses the concern, which reads that the law, while granting exemption to religious and charitable trusts, has taken effective measures to minimize the misuse of trust funds as well. So we can say that the present judgment in Ahmedabad Development Authority is the combination of one of the principles of the majority decision, which is that the business and the relevant commercial activities should be in the course or incidental to the predominant object, but per se the predominant object test has been discarded, and the safeguard which has been introduced by the dissenting judgment that misuse should be minimized of the trust funds and the exemption should be only given to genuine trusts which are engaged in the object of general public utility. Now coming to the second part, scope of expression, consideration, cess or fee. So what the Supreme Court is saying in this decision is that when fees are charged to recover costs or a nominal markup is charged, then there is no reason to worry. But when huge or astronomical profits are earned, the case needs to be scrutinized further by the income tax authorities as to whether it is a commercial activity or a charitable activity. So we can say that in a way a purposive interpretation is given. So to take an example, if it is a statutory body, then most of the statutory bodies will charge some fee for public utility functions. So leeway is given to such statutory bodies saying that this fee charged does not constitute any business. But as far as non-statutory bodies are concerned, there has been a test which is applied by the Supreme Court saying that there should be reasonableness in the profits which are earned. And if they are beyond reasonable or the markup is not a nominal markup just over the costs, then the case needs to be scrutinized further. The third part is application of such gains which are derived from trade, commerce, or business. So this concept is also called as plowing back of profits. So if we take an example, a charitable trust is professing a charitable object and apart from that is earning a decent enough profit from incidental activity. So the earlier argument was that if I am using every penny or utilizing every penny earned out of these incidental objects towards the main charitable object, then this amounts to plowing back of profits, and such application will still make me eligible as a charitable trust for income tax exemption. But if we see the second departure in the present Supreme Court decision is that the application of the income from incidental activities is treated as irrelevant. So if we can see, to bring home even more pointedly and underline a break from the past, application of such amounts would be irrelevant. So even the precedent with respect to application or plowing back of profits has been discarded by the Supreme Court decision in Ahmedabad Development Authority. So on a lighter note, maybe the application of income test has been discarded by the Supreme Court because it feels like in the evening I will have some junk food. and tomorrow I will exercise for half an hour more. So it will be a compensating effect.
कुछ भी
So apart from discarding the traditionally followed concepts, there have been 6 types of charitable trusts discussed in this judgment in detail. First being government bodies, then statutory corporations or statutory bodies like ICAI and Seed Authority, certain institutions which are engaged in trade promotion, like for example the Apparel Export Promotion Council, non-statutory bodies formed with a specific purpose. So for example, the Internet Exchange of India or GSI India, which deals with coding, the state cricket associations dealing with sports, and certain private trusts and tribune trusts. So given the detailed guidelines, there are bound to be some open-ended areas in the decision as well. So in the fee or consideration part, if we observe, the Supreme Court is saying that the fees charged should be reasonable. So reasonableness of profit is a subjective matter in itself. So what constitutes a reasonable markup over a cost is a question of fact and has to be decided independently in every case. So apart from that, due to such open-ended areas, the chances of round 2 of litigation in this matter are not ruled out totally. So to summarize the decision, we can say that when charitable trusts engage in any activity of trade, commerce, or business, so the activity should be in the course of achieving such general public utility objectives, or it should be connected with those objectives. So when we say the predominant object test is scrapped, this does not mean that there is complete embargo on the charitable trusts to do any activity which is in the nature of business. It should be directly relating, or it should stem from the charitable purpose. Second being the consideration or the profits or receipts should be within the quantitative limits, which is 20% of the profits which are earned or the amount of income which is earned by the trust as prescribed under section 215. And the third one being, if the amount which is being charged is astronomical, then the claim of exemption should be reconsidered. If it is a nominal markup over the costs or just to recover the cost, then the decision will be in favor of such charitable trusts, and the character of trust and the exemption will still continue to operate. So with this, I take your leave. Thanks for watching. And if you find this video relevant, do share it with your friends and give it a thumbs up. Thank you.